Latin America is a group of countries and dependencies in the Western Hemisphere where Romance languages such as Spanish, French, Portuguese are spoken. Latin America has strong folklore, music, and religious traditions deeply influenced by European culture but enriched with Amerindian sounds and flavors. The Pacific coast of the country was colonized by Spain and has a similar culture to the other Spanish-speaking Latin American. Latin America is known for their sports, visual art, literature, philosophy, music, film, modern dance, theater, and cuisine.
And now, get ready to be introduced to the following authors who have made their mark on Latin American literature.
Miguel Asturias. Miguel Asturias discovered Mayan mythology and got completely obsessed with it. He translated Popol Vuh into Spanish in 1924. His most famous novel is called El Señor Presidente. Carlos Fuentes. Carlos Fuentes is one of the most admired writers in Spanish-speaking world. From 1934 to 1940, Carlos was living in Washington, D.C. due to the nature of work of his father, an experience that allowed him to view Latin America from an outer, critical perspective. Isabel Allende. Isabel Allende's real literacy career began only at the age of 40, when she published The House of the Spirits, a novel in the genre of magic realism that chronicles several generations of the Trova family. Julio Cortázar. Julio Cortázar is the modern master of the short story, Simon Bolivar of the novel. That's how Cortázar is typically referred to. Cortázar is known as one of the founders of the Latin American boom. His famous novel is called Hopscotch in 1963.
With every great author comes great literary work. Here are now some literary works of Latin America.
One of the famous literature work of Latin America is The Like Water for Chocolate, 1989 by Laura Esquivel. The story is about the fans of magic realism and amazing food who do well to pick up this acclaimed tale of forbidden romance. Heroine Tita de la Garza and ranch hand Pedro want to wed one another very much, but family traditions that the youngest daughter must remain unmarried in order to care for her mother. In her grief, the heartbroken young woman turns to the culinary arts for comfort and personal expression.
The Grapes of Wrath is an American realist novel written by John Steinbeck and published in 1939. The book won the National Book Award and Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, and it was cited prominently when Steinbeck was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1960.
Gabriela Clove and Cinnamon, 1958 by George Amado. Sweet, poverty-stricken, Gabriela falls for a Syrian barkeep named Nasib Saad while Brazil divides over its cacao exports. The nation's tense struggle between tradition and modernization provide an interesting, if not outright satirical backdrop for their love story. For readers not terribly interested in matters of romance, the book provides an interesting insight into the social, political, and economic history of a massive, sometimes volatile, region of the world. Conversation in the Cathedral, 1969 by Mario Vargas Llosa. As Adria's dictatorship lacks, Peru characters hailing from Greece. 100 Years of Solitude, 1967 by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Easily one of the most recognized, beloved, and studied work of Latin American literature, the last 100 Years of Solitude blends the tenets of the modernist, magic realist, and vanguardia movements into one memorable novel. The Burning Plain and Other Stories, 1953 by Juan Rulfo. 15 short stories offer readers an incredibly human glimpse into the lives of rural Mexican families and 20 Love Poems and Song of Despair, 1924 by Pablo Neruda. Pretty much any of Pablo Neruda's poetry collections could have ended up this list, but this one in particular stands out as the one that finally piqued critical attention.
Have you ever read about magic and fantasy in your literature? Well, the oldest kind of magic came from Latin America. Now, the greatest contributions of Latin America to world literature. Started out in the 1940s when the term Lo Real Maravilloso was coined, which meant marvelous realism, which we now know as magic realism. It includes mysticism, magic, uniqueness, raw creativity, and wonder integrated in our reality. Another contribution was a poetic movement called Modernismo. Modernismo made use of metaphors and imagery, symbolisms such as nobility and aristocracy. Magic realism has truly been one of the greatest contributions of Latin America to world literature. Now we have a movement called Indigenismo. Indigenismo emphasized on the relation between the states and the indigenous minorities and the injustices they suffer. Modernismo was considered to be the first Latin American movement recognized globally and the first true Latin American literature. Vanguardia instituted a radical search for daring and confrontational themes for novel forms. The last contribution is Vanguardia. It was an avant-garde movement on literature.
And that marked the end